It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
But my body's telling me yes. I don't see nothing wrong.
Sittin Sportside podcast.
Nothing wrong.
With Sittin Sportside podcast.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
The first Sittin Sportside podcast of the new year.
There's something really wrong with us.
I only thought that the way the last Sittin Sportside podcast ended with me and you, with music, that we'd come in with some more music. No?
I like it. I like it a lot. You know, Eric, it's been a fun morning.
We're letting it play that too. It's been a fun morning, even though we're recording this in the afternoon.
Well, but we've been here all morning.
Yeah, I guess.
Technically.
With the Little Sittin Sportside podcast. All right. Anyways. I wanted to do it one more time in unison.
2 minutes in with it before we went off the rails.
A minute and a half. We are the Sittin Sportside podcast. If you haven't listened to us before, I'm Eric Hanneman along with Mike James. We are the founding members, if you will, of the Sittin Sportside podcast. And of course, we have other members we won't even mention because they're not here, Mike. It's just me and you. We
gotta give them some love. We filled in.
All right, fine. Go ahead. Give him some Bryce love.
Bryce Zelinsky.
Get it?
Yeah,
give Bryce
got
love.
him.
Give Bryce love.
Get him.
Oh, yes.
Got him. High five.
Yes. Woo.
Woo. Get some cold cuts today. No? Too soon?
All right, keep giving some love.
Again. All right, so we got Bryce Zelinsky, who's not here. Eagles fan. Sorry. Johnny Longton, the third.
Who barely even or Calvin comes in here, but okay.
Yeah, well, we still got to give him some love.
Give him some love.
T-Lats, Taylor Lattimore.
T-Lats, haven't had him in a while.
You know what? We'll throw it back. We'll go to our original founding father.
We're going to do it all.
Hoagie. We miss you, Hoax. Cody Marshall is no longer with us.
Pour one out. No, I'm kidding.
Am I missing anybody?
Those are the main ones. I think that's it. That's all of who's ever been on the Sittin Sportside podcast.
Alex Fuse.
Yeah, but we're not talking guests.
We're not talking
guests. We're talking fellow co-hosts.
John Sterling doesn't count?
No.
Gazi Bear doesn't count?
Steve Heitner doesn't count. No.
Heitner doesn't
count?
count?
Gaz doesn't count. No. And no, I think that's it. I can't think of another member. We had one that almost made his debut, but may his job rest in peace. Anyway. Another way of saying he got axed. We promised Yankees and Mets talk. And that's kind of all we do here. We talk a lot of Yankees on this podcast. We talk a lot of baseball on this podcast.
Something tells me we're like the home for Yankees baseball or something, though. Is that true? Or is that
we are. 1045 The Team is. Not 1045theteam.com or the podcast, but 1045 The Team is your home for Yankees baseball.
It's not a rumor?
No, it's not a rumor. It's legit.
Oh.
Are we tired of talking it? We've done it so much this morning, and then now this afternoon.
Let's go home.
We promised a podcast. Yankees, man. Manny Machado, is he staying? Is he not staying? Is he coming to the Yankees? Look, it could break today. This is January 1st, the first of the new year.
I'm hoping it breaks while we're on the air.
2019.
We're not on the air while we're doing the podcast.
It'll literally be 99% uploaded, and it'll break. Guaranteed.
Then that means we have to go in, edit it, and go, we have breaking news.
But you think he's definitely coming to the Yankees?
I hope so. I really do. I mean, I see it. I mean, say what you want to say about his attitude, whatever. I can overlook things like that for pure talent. Does that make sense? Just pure talent-wise, I can overlook it.
Enough. It makes enough sense.
I
don't love it. I don't love signing a guy that we already know has admitted to not hustling. It's not becoming of any individual. We lost Robbie Cano. We let him go. But the biggest knock on Cano and guys like him and Starlin Castro were too nonchalant. And they were very frustrating in that sense. Even Gleyber Torres was very frustrating in that the last play of the ended up being the last play of the ALDS. He should have beaten that out. He should have had an opportunity. I forgot who was up next, but that next batter should have had an opportunity to tie that game.
I'm no Johnny Hustle, but I think I hustle more than Manny Machado.
What about Gary Sanchez? He had one earlier in the last season where he didn't run it out when it could have extended the game.
Yeah,
but it was
but
a double play. So there's a lot of things that no matter what, if you do something like that, you're going to get, rightfully so, a lot of yajada or hate, if you will, from the New York media and the New York fans. And when you admit that you don't hustle, don't like it, it's like falling into a trap that you know is there.
But, in Gary's defense, though, it was when he was fighting that groin injury.
Fair enough, but it looked like he actually did turn the Jets on at the end there. It was one of those things where he wasn't running, realized that he could still beat it out, and then started running instead of running from the get-go. So
yeah,
I don't give him that much of a break, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess I see your legit point there. I guess. I'll give you credit, Eric.
What's the last thing the Yankees need to do here? Say they don't sign him, say they do sign him, regardless. What is something that you think the Yankees need to do between now and March 1st or whenever the pitchers and catchers report in late February?
I was going to say it's not March 1st, but I they need bullpen help, and I still think they need one more starter. I'm not sold that they're set. I just don't. I don't know if they're going to get one now, but they must get one before the trade deadline. Have to get one before the trade. I know you said by March 1st, but they definitely need to shore up that bullpen. But they need one. I'm not sold that rotation is going to win us a title right now. I don't trust Paxton. I'm sorry. I don't. And I'm still not sold that I like that trade. I can't. Not sold that I like that trade.
It's interesting because that trade could, by the trade deadline, you could have a James Paxton who hasn't pitched much in 2019.
We could have one that's pitched 100 innings already, plus innings.
My point is, though, is that you could have a Justice Sheffield pitching out of his mind in Seattle. Like, there is a chance for Sheffield to be pitching by April 1st or March 28th, whenever the season starts, and actually being in that starting rotation from the get-go in Seattle and actually getting things done. So there is a chance that Brian Cashman is looking at that deal and being like, wait a minute, I could have just kept Justice Sheffield.
Like 2 innings this year. How can you say, oh, he threw 2 innings, let's trade him? Why? You were so high on him for so long. He threw.
There's going to be
2 innings.
There's going to be natural growing pains with him, though, and I totally understand the. Let's get the 30-year-old now who has looked like a legitimate ace while he is in his prime, as opposed to having to wait for a guy to get into his prime. A guy who's still 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Someone who you might have to go through growing pains and not even be a guy that's ready to pitch a postseason series until 2 or 3 years down the road. So it made sense in that regard. Problem is, if he lives up to the top billing of being the top prospect, he could be so impactful from the get-go that you're almost like, wait a minute, we could have kept him. 22.
He's 22, yeah.
When does he turn 23?
May 13th.
So, yeah, he'll be 23 by majority of the season.
May 13th? I'm sorry, but I would have much rather kept, May 13th. I would have much rather kept Sheffield and hoped than trade for Paxton, who's had injury issues.
Right. I like the trade. I like the trade. Paxton has really shown that he can be an ace. We don't know that that's going to happen with Sheffield yet. There's still so many questions behind Sheffield, and I guess you kind of, by prospect status, that's the case, that he's going to be a good prospect or a good MLB player, but we know what Paxton is. We also know the injuries. I get that, but we know he's got ace written all over him, a la keeping up with the Joneses, a.k.a. keeping up with the Sale, keeping up with the Boston Red Sox, and that is what does it, in my opinion. And they did the right job there. I think that
you can't use Paxton in the same sentence as Sale.
I think you can.
No.
I think you can.
You can't.
Why not?
Sale's much better.
Who's won the Cy Young?
Chris Sale won one.
Okay. That's the only reason?
What's Paxton done?
I think you can. You look at the stats from last season. You can put him in the same situation because unless you really think Sale is that much more elite, they were on the same playing field, I would say, both competing for a Cy Young this past season.
Hold on.
I'm holding on, Mike James. You're using this as dead air. But look, I think the Yankees rotation is fine.
I don't.
I think it's fine. I think they did what they needed to do. They kept Happ and they went out and got another guy. And they still have CC and Jordan Montgomery coming back later in the year. They have enough there. Severino and Tanaka are supposed to be a 1-2, and Paxton should be an ace too. So why not? I think this is not flashy, but it's a good enough job, in my opinion.
So Paxton, I got the numbers right here. This past year, 2018. Paxton, 28 games, 28 starts. Sale, 27 games, 27 starts. Innings pitched, almost even. Sale, 158. Paxton, 160.
And where's Sale Cy Young?
Hold on.
He doesn't have one, Mike.
He's won one, hasn't he?
He has not won a Cy Young.
All right, so he gave 11 home runs. Paxton gave up 23 home runs, which I do not like for Yankee Stadium. 34 walks for Sale, 42 for Paxton. Paxton was 11-6. Sale was 12-4. Yeah, you can't use them in the same sentence. There's no way. Look at the ERA difference. The ERA.
Not that
Sale,
much.
not that much. It was a 1.5.
What are you talking about?
ERA last year. Their ERA was 1.5. That's a huge difference.
Last year, I'm talking just in general. Like, go look at 2017. What's the difference between 2017 ERA?
I haven't looked. I'm not looking at 2017. I'm looking at 2018.
We'll look at it all. It's only about a half. You can put them in the same conversation.
No.
Why can't you?
Because Paxton's not as good as Sale, nor will he ever be. You're out of your mind. There's no way.
But in terms of injuries, they're on the same page. All right, I mean, Mike, I'll end up by saying this, though, too. Sale is the step up, but I don't think it's ridiculous to say.
I think it's like 3 steps. Not one.
Okay, but I don't... See, that's where I think you're wrong. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that James Paxton is the answer to get somebody who can kind of compete with the rotation in the Red Sox. That was you had to make some kind of move, and it's the B move to what Sale is. At the same time, though, I think Paxton can get there, be one of the best.
I think Paxton was a settle. They settled for Paxton.
As opposed to
going to get a Kluber, going to get somebody. I think it was a settle. I don't think Paxton was ever on the top of their list. They're like, well, we don't want to pay for Kluber. We don't want to do this, so let's settle for some
Kluber would have been insane. Kluber still hasn't gotten dealt. Padres are in on them. There's so many other people that are in on them. I think the Brewers are. There's not enough for the Indians to really actually trade Corey Kluber. So call me when Kluber gets traded. I'll evaluate the prospects that get traded because it's ridiculous what the Indians are asking for. So if you're talking about settling, if anything, they would have gotten robbed had they traded for Kluber because it would have been 3 years of Kluber, maybe not even at his best, for a huge package.
Yeah. And what if Paxton goes out and tears his UCL this year and needs another Tommy John surgery?
What if he goes out and then tears it up?
Yeah.
ACL.
There's no guarantee he does it.
There's no guarantee he tears his whatever you just said.
UCL, so he needs Tommy John surgery again. What then?
They're all what ifs.
Exactly.
And I think there's better chance of him actually doing well this season. I'm a fan. I'm a believer. I choose to believe. And I think the rotation is fine.
No.
I think that overall, I think the rotation is okay going into the season. They need to sign probably another arm. The offense is okay. I still would prefer Bryce Harper over Manny Machado if I had to choose between the two.
Can we just get both and call it a day?
I just don't see it happening. It's too much money, too. Overall, I think we're beating it into the ground possibly, but this Yankees team is still a 100-win team. So even if they stand pat from where they are right now, it's an improvement over last year with the exception of the bullpen kind of still being in limbo. They have no
bullpen right now, though. We
talked
about this. We had Chapman, Betances, and Green. Right? That's our bullpen right now. That ain't going to do us anything. I'm pretty sure that's all we have left.
Yeah, Robertson's definitely still a free agent. Zach Britton, free agent now. Jonathan Holder's still okay.
I want to know why Cashman still hasn't at least pushed an offer to Britton and Robertson.
The shoe hasn't fallen yet. Andrew Miller is the only one that seems to have gotten
That
signed.
Also pisses me off why he didn't make an offer to him.
How do you know he didn't make an offer? Do we know that?
We don't have proof that he did.
Touche.
Fair?
Do you want me to report to you what MLB Trade Rumors has said as of December 31st of 2018, even though we're here on New Year's Day 2019?
Well, that was only yesterday. So sure, Eric. Actually, it was only 12 and a half hours ago, so sure.
Right. Yeah, but it was still early in the morning, December 31st, so it's like a day and a half old. Okay, so when we're looking at the rumors, it looks like there's a free agency face-off between Robertson, Britton, and Adam Ottavino.
Ooh, could you imagine if they signed all three of them?
If you're looking at the concern with Robertson, it's age.
Yep.
Britton was amazing in his heyday, but he fell off in the last 2 seasons.
When he got hurt.
So he wasn't overly imposing with that sinker. And then Adam Ottavino, if you look at him, he had a strikeout rate, or excuse me, a first pitch strike rate that increased by nearly 14%, and his out of zone rate climbed up 5%. So there's some thoughts that maybe those things will revert back to the mean. He won't be as good because the soft contact was ridiculous last season because it was right up there with Edwin Diaz and Blake Treinen. So maybe that will continue because of the stuff, or maybe that will go back to that as Robertson's and Britton are a lot worse in that category in soft contact rate. So out of those three, you'd like to get all three. You'd like to get 2. But if you had to choose one, who would you choose? Because those are probably one of those will be a Yankee, in my opinion. We'll see.
Probably Ottavino. I don't know.
They're going to go to someone that they haven't had before?
Yeah. I mean,
I can see it.
Don't get me wrong. I love Robertson. I mean, he was good when we had him before and when he came back. But I'm not high on Britton, but I mean, I wouldn't mind having him back. I'd like to see a new face out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, according to John Hyman, the Yankees are focused on the bullpen. And those 3 that I mentioned are all in play for the Yankees. But the market for relievers...
Nobody's signing until Kimbrel signs. Let's be honest. I think nobody will sign until Kimbrel signs.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, if the Yankees lose both Robertson and Britton, they could be in trouble with that bullpen. I know Holder was okay, but you lose that 7th inning guy. Betances
I think Robertson will go close somewhere.
And this is your strength. This is what you had last year over everybody else, the bullpen. And that will no longer be the case if you lose both of those guys. It's not going to be good. So there is actually some legitimate concern. I'm actually okay with the bats. I'm okay with the arms on the starting rotation, even though I know you're not. It's the bullpen that's interesting here. It used to be your number one strength, and if you lose out on all those guys, including Ottavino, man, this is going to be something that you're really going to have to, like you said, trade at the trade deadline or something like that, because you need to have at least one more arm, and I would actually like another lefty too.
Not opposed to it.
But let's be honest, Britton was not great.
Robertson
was probably your best overall reliever last year.
Yeah,
he's just getting up there in age. Are you willing to give him the money you weren't willing to give him before?
34, 35, I think.
So throw money at Craig Kimbrel.
I don't hate it.
I would rather. I think the idea of possibly bringing back both Britton and getting Ottavino, I like that. I like that if they could do that, but I don't know how that's going to work monetary wise, especially if you're signing, because if you're signing Manny Machado, doesn't that change things there too?
Yeah.
If you're signing Manny Machado, you're losing money that you could use elsewhere. Don't love it. Don't love it, Mike James. We promised a little Mets talk on this podcast too. There's more that the Mets need to do, most likely. I'll let you start, and then I'll get into what we've seen reported, or at least speculated by other writers on MLB.com. Where do you feel like the Mets need to go from here, and what kind of moves do you think they need to make in addition to what they've already made?
I think they need more hitting. Honestly, they obviously don't need starting pitchers. I mean, their rotation's probably top.
They do need pitching depth, though.
Yeah, they need bullpen help.
This is what writers have been saying. Anthony DeComo on MLB.com. Pitching depth, finalize an outfield, make a plan for first base. Those are the 3 things he says the Mets need to do. I agree with all 3 of those. What kind of pitching depth, though, do you feel like they could do? Because they could really be in the market for one of those relievers as well.
Yeah, they need bullpen help. I mean, they could use, I'd say, maybe sign a couple back end starters, put in the bullpen just in case, God forbid, something happens. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I think they're okay. I think their line, they definitely need to finalize that outfield, figure out what in the world they're doing, and just they got to solidify that lineup. I still don't think that lineup's good enough.
A.J. Pollock remains out there, which is interesting. So if the Bryce Harper sweepstakes finally gets done, Pollock will be the next name to be going down. Nick Castellanos is a guy who's going to be traded probably after Harper signs as well from the Detroit Tigers. They could go out and get one of those guys. A guy I like out there that they could possibly go out and get is Marwin Gonzalez. He's versatile. He can play all over the infield. He can play in the outfield. He's another bat for them. So I think that would be an interesting signing that they can go after. A guy in terms of versatility and another bat to add to a lineup that is much needed for the lineup. So I think the Mets need to do that. And the whole thing about making a plan for first base, just say it right now. Peter Alonso's your starting first baseman. I know you have to go through spring training to see if he's actually legitimate. But who's your first baseman if Peter Alonso isn't quote-unquote ready? Dom Smith, and people have been... I like Dom Smith. I think he could actually carve up a career, but he seems to me like a John Singleton to me right now. A guy that could look good in the minor leagues. When he came to the major leagues and done nothing. Singleton is nowhere to be found. He got a huge contract before he was even a starter in the major leagues for the Houston Astros. And by huge, I mean he actually got millions of dollars before he even signed, which was a record-breaking at the time. Scott Kingery also got that from the Philadelphia Phillies. Mm-hmm. But Peter Alonso, to me, should be your number one guy at the latest 2 weeks before the season.
That's definitely fair. Legit. Definitely.
But if you don't have him, Don Smith, your starting first baseman. You bring back Wilmer Flores. I don't even know what's going on with that. Yeah. To be your first baseman. So there's a lot of questions the Mets need to answer. But ultimately, ideally, you're bringing in one more bat, like maybe like Marwin Gonzalez, or if you're getting frisky, if you're getting risky, AJ Pollock.
Frisky, risky. What would whatchamacallit? What would Brody Van Wagenen do? That's the answer. That's the question.
But that is the question since he's the GM, Mike.
Exactly.
Man.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see how the Mets fare this year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Mike. It's a fair point. All right. Mike James. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, Mike James.
Who? Music's starting. Does that mean it's
what?
Go time?
All right. Burning down the house. We got to tear it down. That usually means it's the end of the podcast. Mike seems lost in his phone. What are you doing tonight, Mike? You got a big time dinner. You want to talk about it, or you want to leave it as it is?
I got some turkey. I don't know what else, but there's definitely turkey. Not my favorite food, but I'll eat it. It's legit.
How important is this in terms of the fiance? Is this just another New Year's Day dinner?
It's not Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's just
with the family though. Are you nervous? Is this? You already met them. It's all good.
Another day in paradise.
Cool.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, that's right.
I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm working. All right. Nothing more interesting here, right?
Yeah, Eric, it's been a fun 4 hours with you, buddy.
The last listener just tuned out, so.
That was me.
If we even had one.
Probably not.
Tease. You got anything to tease for the future? Or tease from the past? That was already up on oneonfrotherteam.com.
You haven't heard the Steve Heitner interview. Make sure you listen to that.
Steve Heitner interview. All the podcasts on oneonfrotherteam.com. Sittin Sportside podcast tab on the podcast. But I have an article up there, my 5 bold predictions going into 2019. So to check that out, really, honestly, I really think that there's a lot of bold predictions on there, and I would love to get a tweet from you tearing me apart on those because they are very bold. I went balls to the wall in boldness for those predictions, and I would love for you to read those and react to them at EricH1045. We got a new Twitter handle for Mike James.
It is Mike James 1045. That's my new Twitter handle. Change it. No longer announcer MJ44. It's Mike James 145.
He stole it
from E-Money.
He stole it. I'm flattered. Mike James, thanks for joining the podcast. We'll be back plenty of times throughout the new year. Thank you for listening. And of course, Mike James,
stay classy.